Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. This is Sinead Chapman, CEO, founder, and managing director of Nerdy Diva, tech company that specializes in user experience research and design for websites and apps, tech training, instructional design, and business coaching. And I am excited to talk with you today about negotiations and setting boundaries. So important, always comes up in business and always comes up even if you're not in business as an entrepreneur, but you are an employee and you have salaries that you want to negotiate, you have promotions that you want to negotiate, and even at home and family dynamics, you have different ideas about vacations and where you should go. So being able to understand how to negotiate, how to have fruitful conversations, how to share your interests, and knowing when to walk away, definitely really important. So we're going to get into that today. And definitely share in the chat where you are calling from. Hello, hello. Share in the chat where you're calling from and what brought you to this conversation today. Yeah, Shelby had a travel negotiation conversation recently. So yes, it happens. We can use these skills in all areas of life, work, business, home, family, friends, life as well. Yes. Welcome, Asia. Thank you. So I'm going to share a little bit about negotiation foundation. So something that I have been trained on, I've gone to different workshops on how to be a better negotiator and really understanding those tips and strategies that set you up for success. Hi, Casey. How are you doing? And being able to really be present in your negotiation, because it's tough because there's also these emotional elements that are happening when you're in a negotiation. You're wondering like, oh my goodness, am I going to get what I want? Or are they going to say no? Like that fear of rejection is big. That's a real thing to think about and to unpack as well. And thinking about, oh my God, what's the worst case scenario? What's the thing that they could say that would hinder this whole discussion? So it's actually wise to think about that. Think about what's the worst case scenario. So then it's like you get the elephant in the room and you sit with it. Like, oh, if they don't decide to see things your way, what are your options at that point? Hi, Dan. Hi, Hamza. Thank you for joining. So I want to share a little bit about some of those tips for you as you are preparing for your negotiation. So never go into negotiation without thinking it through. That's the first step. Awareness is key. You really need to know what's most important to you. What are your top priorities? And write them down. Your highest priority, your medium priority, your nice to have, low priority. Really sit with those questions and really get clear about that so that you know before your conversation what's really important to you and focusing on that. Do your homework also, especially if you are negotiating salary or you are negotiating promotions or you're negotiating if you are a business owner and you're negotiating pricing. Do some comparative research. And that can be formal research that you find from research studies for like salaries in your field. Every year there's an annual salary report that industries, they do a lot of research. They collect data from like in my field in user experience, they collect data from UX designers and researchers all across the country and internationally to find out where the average salaries, where the top cities for these roles. And you can use that as data as you are preparing for your negotiation for salary. So really use those resources that are available, and also think about informal ways to get data, asking other people in your network. I think it's really important to talk about money. We don't talk about money enough, especially as women. It feels like a taboo topic, but you will never know how other people are negotiating if you aren't comfortable with just asking a question. And it can feel scary, but you can ask, like, hey, do you mind if I ask you, like, what did you negotiate for your last role? What were some things that you wish you would have known before you started that role? And there's so many things that you can negotiate. Salary comes up for most people, thinking about your range. So just as an example, if you are someone who is earlier in your career, you want to ask folks who are around your same level, like what salaries are they negotiating for in their positions. But it's also wise to talk to people who are mid-level and senior level to have some understanding of where you want to be in the future, where you want to go, and what's possible. And some things that have come up in my research is you can negotiate so many things. Salary is great. You can ask for a range and have that as part of your discussion, but don't let that be the only position that you negotiate. Many companies or public companies on the stock market, so you can negotiate stock equity as part of your salary, as part of your package, as part of your promotional package as well. You can negotiate time off. So PTO, I definitely have negotiated for more PTO in previous positions. And that's something where that allows you to have more space for your family, your friends, your vacations. And yeah, these are really tough conversations. Yeah, it is difficult to negotiate salaries. So part of it is practice. Part of it is having the conversations about money every week. Make that something that's a habit for you to start communicating, talking about money, talking about what you would like to make, and having conversations with your managers, with your teams. Like, if I want to get to six figures, what is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to show you in order for you to feel comfortable paying me six figures? So having those conversations as part of your meetings, as part of the one-on-one conversations you have with your leadership team. And that makes it easier for them to say yes when that time comes for promotions, for performance review, because you've already asked, what do you need to see from me in order to feel comfortable with giving me a salary boost? And now you have a game plan. Now you have something you can work towards, and that can be an easier yes for them once they see that information. Hi, Megan. Yes, preparing for networking event. Yes, that can be another great place to meet people and have information in your network that you can use as part of your negotiation as well. So definitely go to those networking events and collect data everywhere. Collect data from people that you know, people on LinkedIn, people that you see in articles online, and use that as part of setting your goals, customize your goals for what's most important for you. And you can use that for your salary negotiations, pricing negotiations, but really strengthen your case with that data. So, like, I want six figures, and this is why. This is the value that I bring to the table. This is my experience. This is my expertise. These are my certifications. I have done this work. I will continue to do this work and bring it to your business and help your business grow. Shelby asks, where do we store this data as we're getting it? Ooh, good question. So I like to use like Google Drive. So I'll create like a Google Drive folder and I'll just take notes there. I'll just take notes and add links to different like salary reports. Sometimes they are PDFs that you download and you can go through the different data about the average salaries for your industry and for your location. Geography sometimes is part of it for certain industries. If you're in the South, you may have a different range than you would have in the Northeast, for example. So it kind of depends on the industry. Some industries like tech is more values driven. So the salaries are typically in the same category because of the intensity of the work is the same and it's very like remote first culture. So really get to know what are the criteria for your industry, and you can store that data into your Google Drive, or you can also add it to a Trello is a project management tool that I use, Trello. And that's another place where I'll add links and I'll add reminders to myself to go to networking events and find other people who I can build relationships with and, get to know and ask some of these questions about what types of companies or looking for consultants and what types of work is out there and how do they negotiate their pricing. Slack groups are another resource for me. I'm in some Slack groups for consultants, and we talk about pricing. We talk about how do you price out some of the projects that you have with various clients, and what is the timeline for that structure of pricing as well. So finding your people, finding your groups where they are open to sharing those ideas and having those conversations, really, really important. Notion, yeah, Notion's another great tool. Airtable is another tool. And that can be something where you're building over, time periods, like you're building a quarterly resource to check in. It's like every 6 months, maybe you go back and see like, has anything changed in the industry that can be helpful for your negotiation. So definitely, yeah, use those tools as a resource and get creative. So think about ways to negotiate for things that are outside of the box, like reimbursement for working from home, having your office set up and having like your phone, your internet access covered. Those are also things that you can negotiate for. Education, if you're interested in going back to school or you want some more certifications. I mean, that's a great benefit to the company as well, because they want to have talented people, smart people who are going to help their business grow. And then you also get to have this education that you can use in your current position, but in any position that you have in the future as well. So definitely negotiating some of those benefits, really important. And also knowing when to walk away. That's really something that is a key strategy, because you may get into a situation where the other party is not willing to be flexible. It's not willing to negotiate with you. And that leads me to one of the strategies that I learned about in negotiation training, which is called BATNA, BATNA. And that's an acronym that stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. And really what that means is, what do you do if the other person refuses to negotiate with you? So really getting comfortable thinking about like that worst case scenario. If they are not having it and they're saying no to everything, what will you do at that point? So write out a list of other options that you have, of other actions that you can take if this negotiation does not go as planned, knowing what's your way out. And also thinking about ways that you can improve and strengthen your negotiation in the future. So if you are negotiating salary, if you're negotiating a higher rate, What are some things that you can work on so that the other side feels more comfortable giving you that higher salary or that higher rate? Are there certifications that you can get? Are there ways that you can get more testimonials that showcase your expertise? Are there ways that you can create a portfolio of your work that highlights your expertise so they feel more comfortable giving you that additional salary or that additional bump in your contract? So really thinking about how do you strengthen for the next negotiation. And then also be prepared to walk away and choose another option if needed. So if salary negotiation is what you're focusing on and they're not having it, they're saying, no, we will not give you any pay bump, and you've gone above and beyond for years at this job, think about your options. One option could be to start looking for another job, use LinkedIn, start, steadily looking for other opportunities, set your alerts to jobs in your industry that meet your criteria, start going to more networking events and finding out what jobs are soon to be available. There's a whole hidden jobs market also, and there's a whole referral jobs network. So really connecting with people based on what's important to you and finding those shared interests. So for me, I love to speak and teach about user experience, about technology. And so I'm in those communities. I'm in communities with other people who care about these topics. And that leads to referrals. That leads to negotiations. That leads to contracts. So really finding your tribe and connecting with your people is really going to help you as you grow as a negotiator as well, because you'll have more options. Yes. I'm just taking a look at the comments here. Yeah, it's hard to know what's realistic based on, the changes we have moving to remote first. Yeah, it's hard to know what feels like too much, what feels like a big, huge ask, and what's actually reasonable. And that's the thing. You don't know. You have to experiment. You have to be willing to play the game. And I think when you see negotiation as a game, it can feel more comfortable. And when you write out what your options are, how you can walk away if they're not meeting you and they're not willing to compromise and be flexible, having some options that you can look forward to take some pressure off and allows you to be more present and easygoing in the negotiation. And it's a conversation. You're having a conversation, you're asking questions. And I believe in the philosophy that you get more bees with honey. So that's like a Southern Midwestern saying that we have, that, building an approach that is kind, that is welcoming, helps you in the long term to create relationships where people are more likely and more comfortable with meeting you in your negotiation, with trying to help you get to where you want to be in that negotiation. So it's really important to build those relationships with people before you need them, before you need that salary promotion, that salary negotiation, before you need that promotion, having those networks and getting to know people so that can feel like an easier yes for the person on the other side as well. So important. Yeah. So what questions do you all have about negotiations and setting boundaries? Definitely add them to the chat as well. Remember to be confident, ignore imposter syndrome. That comes up a lot, just thinking that, oh, I haven't done this that long, or, there's so much that I still have to learn. It's really getting comfortable with understanding what your strengths are. What do you bring to the table? What value will you add to this business, to this client? Really being able to identify that and share that in your negotiation. Yeah, mapping out what you've done, your accomplishments. So think about that, and maybe set a timeline, like every quarter, every 3 months, go back and write out, what did you accomplish in the past 3 months? What did you do that you got done and you did a great job and you got kudos, you got some good feedback, people congratulated you about that, and what problems did you solve? Keep that on record for your negotiations so that you can have that to help strengthen your case. Like, this is why I'm requesting this bump in salary, because I'm doing the work and I will continue to do the work at a high level. If you hear we're like a family here, run, yeah, and that's something where, like, when we work with companies, um, it's okay to have different types of relationships. It's okay to have colleagues. It's okay to have coworkers. It's okay to have business friends. It's okay to have different types of relationships. Everyone is not your family, and that's okay. Your family is your blood family, your chosen family, but we don't have to work with our families. That doesn't have to be a necessity. What is a necessity is respect and being dependable and being responsive and communicating in an effective way and showing up and doing the job that you were hired to do, and being someone that is considerate and who is there for people, and sharing and helping and creating a positive environment. Yes, Casey says, love that. Sometimes we forget our own accomplishments and diminish our value and allow others to do so. Yes, that happens so often. And like, you forget that you are worthy, that you deserve that raise. So having that data helps you remember, like, oh yeah, I did do all of that cool stuff in January. Like, January feels like so long ago. That was only a couple of weeks ago. So being able to write out what your accomplishments are, and then write out what your goals are for the future, and what do you need to have in terms of salary or other resources or support. Maybe you need more flexibility. Maybe you need more work from home days, and being able to document, like, hey, I am very efficient when I work from home. I've done all this work for the past 6 weeks at home, and it is comparable to my work in office or exceeds my work in office. So being able to share that with your team members and with your leadership team, definitely very important. So one of the comments is, how do you acquire a review once you have completed the deliverable? Is this around a performance review? If so, then you can ask your direct leader, can we have a mid-year performance review? Or you could ask for the annual review, like, what are the dates for that review? And how can I prepare for that? So sometimes just being proactive and asking for what you want, definitely really important as well. And I have heard people say that sometimes the dates keep getting pushed back, and being confident and continuing to ask. Sometimes the squeaky wheel, gets heard. So staying in communication and keep asking for what you want and having that perseverance. And that lack of action also is an action. So then, if they're not taking you seriously, think back to what your options are. What other options do you have? If you're not being heard, if you have asked for a way to negotiate, to have a performance review, and it's not happening, what other options do you have? Can you look for other positions? Can you look for ways to strengthen your resume, strengthen your expertise, getting certifications, sharing knowledge, going to conferences, networking, meeting other people in your industry? How do you look for those other options if you're not getting what you need at your current place of employment. So definitely keep that in mind. And I think it's really important just to be ready. Be ready. So stay ready. So it's not something that is shocking if a job doesn't work out, if there's layoffs that happen, if there's something that's unexpected, because you are continuing to work on your career, your professional development, you're continuing to build the life that you want, you're going to have options. You're always going to have options. So definitely keeping that in mind. All right. What else? What other questions do you all have around negotiations? Also, very important to think about your boundaries around time management as well. Like, what are some of the conditions that work best for you? You know, something that I've started doing is no meetings on Fridays. So that's a head down. I'm writing, I'm preparing for next week, I'm getting some core business work done and setting up that time as my non negotiable. Like, no one can meet with me on Fridays for like business meetings because I need that time to work. And so setting up your schedule in a way that works for you as well, definitely a big negotiation. Looking for AI tools too, yeah. Yes, no meetings on Friday is a favorite, yes. Yeah, AI tools, yeah, they can be really interesting. So I've been using ChatGPT, and that can be a tool that you use as a preliminary way to get some research. So using ChatGPT to ask questions around like how should I negotiate for a promotion, and see what type of information comes back. And you can make it more specific to your industry. How can I negotiate for a promotion in education, in technology, in healthcare, and make it very specific to your industry? That can be a way to get some tips as well. It can also be a way to find out some additional data on different salaries for different stages in careers as well. So, what are the entry level salaries for UX designers and researchers? And that can help you with defining a range for your negotiation if you are new to the field and are negotiating your salary for the first time. Yeah, Shelby uses Honeybook to follow up with clients for reviews. It's automated. Yeah, so it definitely can help with writing as well. So if there's things that you want to put in written format, sometimes I use ChatGPT and I'll just write out the ideas that I have first, and then I'll put it into ChatGPT and ask it to rewrite this. And you can choose how it carries the tone, in a conversational tone, in a formal tone, and see like how they summarize the information that you have started to create and evolve it and make it more, direct and to the point, and definitely can be helpful in getting your message across as well. But definitely, as you were building out your negotiation plan, thinking about your goals, what's most important to you, thinking about setting your boundaries and sticking to them. And that's the key, because you can set the boundary, but if you don't stick to it, then it's all over. It's all over. So it's a muscle. You have to practice. You have to practice that muscle and just staying confident. Say, hey, this is my boundary. This is what I need to be productive, what I need to be successful. And is there a way that we can continue to partner together, knowing that this is my boundary and this is what I need in order to be successful? How do you set boundaries when overseeing multiple projects? Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good one. So I think it still comes back to understanding, what do you need in order to be successful. So maybe you need blocks of time where you are in meetings and exchanging information and sharing updates, but you also need time to do the work. You need time to write or create reports or whatever it is that you really need to get done. And being able to meet with your stakeholders is going to be part of that. So trying to align those different schedules can be part of your negotiation. Identifying how often do we meet? Do we need to meet every day? Or can we push it to once a week? Or can we push it to once a month? And so it may depend on the complexity of your project. And if the team is more senior level, or if they are more entry level and need more hands-on attention. So there's different variables that will need to be considered when you create your negotiation for multiple projects. So you'll definitely need to have some buffers for your time because, as you know, projects always have a way of going in unexpected directions. So adding in some buffer time for yourself and not overcommitting. And I think that's something that many people get in trouble when they overpromise. And I've done it earlier in my career. I've said, oh yeah, I'll get that done in 3 days, knowing that I had 3 other projects to work on already. Like that's unrealistic. So being really truthful with yourself about how much time do you need and negotiating that with your teams as well. Like, hey, I comfortably need 5 business days to work on this project, but I also have 2 other projects as well concurrently running at the same time. So because of that, I actually need to add another 5 business days and keeping everyone in that conversation, communicating that out. Like, this is where we are. I'm one person and I'm working on multiple projects. And because of that, I need this additional time. And that's part of your negotiation. So using that data to negotiate what you need, if it's more time, if it's more resources, if you need more budget to hire more people. It's like, hey, this is a huge project. There's not enough people for everyone to get the work done on time. We need budget to hire another person. So negotiating for those resources can definitely be something that you do as well. Thank you. Good questions. Yes. Also remember that you have your community. You have people that you can ask about your negotiations as well. So think about who are good people that you can contact when you have questions about your negotiations. Definitely think about if you have a business coach or a career coach, reaching out to that person. That's one of the services that we offer at Nerdy Divas. So talking with people as they are going through salary negotiations, promotions, creating their business and creating pricing structure, definitely part of those conversations. And that can be helpful for you to really get specific on customizing what you need and feeling confident about that and practicing doing some role playing and practicing having those conversations because it gets easier over time, but it is a muscle. You got to practice it. It has to feel natural. And it only happens that way when you continue to do it. You make it part of what you do on a daily basis. I think it's also really important to get in touch with some lawyers as well. So follow lawyers who talk about negotiations, follow folks who talk about ways to be persuasive, and also like salespeople. Salespeople are really good at negotiations, and it can be something where like, oh, I don't want to be too pushy. That can come up, but there's different ways of approaching negotiations. You don't have to be super pushy and confrontational if that's not how you like to show up. Be authentic, be your true self, and you'll find a way to communicate it in a way that works for you. But understanding what some of those strategies are, understanding some of those skills of finding out common interests between you and the person you're negotiating with, looking for that common ground, looking for ways to have some mutual understanding, and really having your data to help strengthen your negotiation. That's going to really help you be successful and get what you want out of the deal, and create long lasting partnerships as well. And not just we're working together for this short time period, but make it so that people want to come back to you and continue working with you in the future as well. Yeah, negotiations can feel confrontational, but they don't have to be. They are conversations. They are conversations that you are having with someone, and you're asking questions, and you're stating your case and presenting your information and saying, I'm asking for this salary increase because I've done X, Y, and Z. These are my receipts. And you know that because you're keeping track of your accomplishments. You're keeping track of what you've done, how you have helped the business grow, and you're ready. You're ready for that next step. And you know that, and your data is going to back you up and make it easy for the other person to say yes. Make it very easy for them. And you'll get very successful in your negotiations. What else? What other questions do you all have? Has anyone done a negotiation recently? Do you have anything you can share about your negotiations? And I think that's something also to be mindful of, that negotiations sometimes take time, and that's okay. Like, I've gone through negotiations where it's taken 2 or 3 weeks, and it goes back and forth a bit because there's so much complexity. And that's okay. We're in a very, like, we got to do things quickly type of culture and type of world, but negotiations are not always quick. And that's okay. Like, stay firm in what's important to you, understand what your highest priorities are, and understand what it would take for you to have to walk away. Understand, when does a deal become something where it doesn't make sense and you have to walk away. And sometimes getting to that negotiation, it just takes some time, and being okay with that, being okay with the space that it takes in order to get to the end result is part of the process as well. Like, allowing the process to happen and being ready for stepping away if at the end of it you still don't feel like you're getting what you deserve. Yeah, Dan is saying eye contact, definitely important. Even when we're virtual, having that eye contact and being comfortable with silence. So, yeah, that's part of it also. Because when the silence happens, that means the other side is thinking. They're thinking about it. So, you want to give them that space. And they also want to see if you are going to budge. It's a game. It's like playing poker. It's a game. So, you want to stay present, and you want to wait and see how it goes on their side. You present your ask, and then you wait. Maybe there's some silence. That's okay. Don't be afraid of the silence. And then they will respond with either accepting your offer or giving you a counter offer. And now you have something new to think about. Are you okay with that counter offer, or will you recounter? So, like, and you can take your time and you can ask for that. You can say, hey, thank you for the counter offer. Is it okay with you if I take some time to think this over and get back to you? And, if they want to build that relationship with you, they're going to say yes. Yeah, take some time. And if they say no, this is now or never, then that's a red flag, in my opinion, that you have to make a decision immediately. That doesn't seem respectful. That doesn't seem like they value you or your time. So definitely think about, is this the right partnership for you? Is this right for your career? Is this right for your business? And trust your gut. Trust your gut, and definitely reach out to people who see you succeed if you have any questions. And I think that's all we have for today. Definitely reach out to me at nerdydiva.com if you have any questions about negotiations, or reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to help. And if there's nothing else, have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next month.